I got to share this because I think this is absolutely critical for everybody here. So I'm going to share two things and they're going to sound crazy, but roll with me. Number one, you do not need your spouse's support in order to establish a standard of or a culture of high standards in your family. That sounds crazy. You hear me saying it like, what? How's that even possible? It can't be done. Look, it's way easier if your spouse is on board. But ladies and gentlemen, you do not need your spouse in order to set a high standard and establish a culture in your family. You can do it. You just have to be this force of positive energy and attractiveness and magnetism. And they're sitting there watching you do one thing and your spouse do the other. And they're like, I want that. And you're like, yeah, but it's harder. Your kids, yeah, your kids are watching. You're like, it's harder. It's more stuff. Like your kids will do the harder thing. They'll make the higher choices. They will choose the higher standards because you're setting the example. But if you're ornery, grumpy, and mean and bitter and resentful,
Say, do it my way.
and like, this is my way, my way's better. Are they going to follow you? No, that's not attractive. So you don't need your spouse. Like, I want everyone to set that aside. You're like, yeah, but I don't want my kids to do this, but my spouse does it. So what?
Fully emphasizing again, yes, it's way
It's
easier.
way easier.
Spouses support.
But if your spouse doesn't, so what? You guys have all heard my story about exercise. Rachel didn't exercise for 23 years of our marriage. All of our kids exercise hard. Like I was establishing that culture.
Yes.
Okay. If she would have done it, it would be easier. Whatever. I don't care. Okay. Number two, and this was said in here is like, oh, it's not worth the battle on all fronts, or it's not worth the battle. Sometimes I acquiesce because it's not worth the battle, or I'm only going to do one thing or the other thing because I don't want the battle. That, in my personal opinion, that's a flawed framework. It's a flawed mindset. It doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be a fight. We don't have to fight about these things. Holding and living by a high standard and like making things amazing in your house does not have to be a battle. We
Well,
don't have to fight about it. Not with our spouses, not with our kids. It doesn't have to be a battle.
I think especially if you're talking about, because if we approach it in a way where we are trying to enforce everybody following what we think should be the standard, then yeah, that becomes a battle because I am trying to force you to do what I think you should do.
Which is a dictatorship.
Right. But if we take this approach of like, I am living at this standard, whether you do it or not, and look at the outcome. Look at how happy look how much fun I'm having. Look at how great this is. Then it's not a battle because all you're doing is modeling a different way of living, which again, this is the long game. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to do this tomorrow and everybody's like, I'm on board, right? It has to become a part of who you are and how you live. And when you do that and it's real and it's authentic, then people see that and they want to follow it. That's ultimate leadership. Now, when we talk about this, I fully understand, let's use the phrase mental load of a mom. And you think, how am I supposed to do that when I'm already overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, so many things? And in that case, it really comes down to just being more strategic. You have to be more strategic about, let me use this cliche phrase, self-care, so that you are feeling good and you are recovering and you have the energy to be able to be authentically happy and authentically fulfilled and authentically living and authentically joyful, right? Because if you're not, you can't fake your way there. You can't pretend. You have to literally find that for yourself and then live it. That's really the only way to do what you're talking about. Now, obviously, it's simple, but not necessarily easy. And that's why we're here. That's why we're learning all the little puzzle pieces. That's why we're getting all of the little techniques and strategies. Because as I was telling another mom in Boxer this week, it was maybe this was the same mom that was talking about yeah, it was. Anyways, sometimes we're like, well, I'm doing all the things. But often, this whole life approach we're talking about is like a combination lock. And you can be doing lots of the right things and still feel like, well, I'm not getting the results. I'm not there. I'm not to that level. And it's because you're just missing one or two numbers on that combination. So we keep moving forward. We keep learning because finally then we're like, click, aha, I got another one. Click, I just unlocked it. Oh my gosh, that was the missing piece. But if we give up and we're like, well, it's not working, I've tried all those things. It's a combination. You have to keep going until you get all the numbers in a row and then it unlocks. So we keep learning the things, we keep doing the practices, we keep processing, we keep having the conversations, we keep exposing our spouses. You just keep doing it until you get it to unlock. And then it does. And it's beautiful. And you're like, aha. And you never say you've arrived because you never arrive. It's a journey that keeps going. Right? But you've leveled up. You're to the next level. And that's the beautiful thing.